And it's Coach Cav here. Thanks for placing the order and trusting us with the oversight or giving you some feedback on your property just based on our discussion and what led you down this path. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through just some key points that we've derived that should help you gain some context to where your property currently stands, some gaps that we saw in the market, and some areas of recommended improvement. And then we will walk through in real time your numbers inside of my pricing tool. Now, granted, you did not order the pricing upgrade, but I want to just give you an idea from a number standpoint of where you really stand. So it should tie in to give you sort of a big picture view and bleed back into some of the recommendations that we will walk through. So so for starters, your space in my company, we've got one of the largest sharing economy portfolios that you've probably seen or will come across that involves tiny homes, RVs, apartment complexes, and single family homes across both the U.S. and Canada. So the key takeaway here for you is that we're qualified to do this because we've invested in over 200 investments across the U.S. and Canada, and we've got the requisite experience across many markets to understand what markets need and what hosts should be provided in order to be successful. And because of our investor network, all that simply means is that the data that we show to our investors, it needs to be as good as it can be in order for us to continue to grow and build a business at this scale. So the data that you're going to get and you're going to see is going to be similar to what we do with each of our investment properties. Here's an investment snapshot for your property, the farm at the medical center. So for starters, great location, but as we know within the Houston market, the city center of Houston, especially the medical center district, has been heavily targeted by hosts because of the medical center and what it provides, right? It's sort of a no-brainer in terms of getting in there to take advantage of some of what happens at MD Anderson and the Children's Medical Center. So I'd imagine that was some of your thought process or what you were sold on as it pertains to the actual location. So no fault to you in that case. So first key thing here is the lease, right? At 12 months, as we mentioned, we want you to look at a different option because 12 months just doesn't give you the time to make an investment, a significant investment, and recoup that investment in a short period of time. 3-bed, 2 bath, sleep 6. We'll touch that. Or quick value analysis here. Our value play is typically where we see a large gap in the market. So in this case, what we've outlined here is the high market competition, right? For a listing that sleeps up to 6 with a head-to-bed ratio within the city center. I'll break that down a little further in the recommendations. We've outlined 10 travel demographics in the Houston market, and all that means for you viewing this is that there are 10 different traveler types that we've identified that have a significant or consistent presence in the market, meaning that they can fill your calendar, right? If they're properly targeted, or if your space provides the right unique setup to target them. The third bullet down, not listed on PeerSpace here, highlighted as a value analysis because PeerSpace provides additional value to spaces, especially in a market as big as a Houston market. No pets. That it's a head scratcher unless it's a condo or it has something to do with the building itself. But you are eliminating yourself from two to three travel demographics in this case. I won't touch much on the location because everybody shares the same. There's no added benefit in this case with the market size. Financial summary, just understanding your numbers. The investment was up to 15K. Rough look at your numbers here. We'll dive into that in the pricing tool. And estimated revenue just based on what we've seen conservatively, you can expect somewhere between 2.7 and 3.6K per month. Where we see risk here, Houston has a large apartment market and it's non-regulated, right? All that means for you is that there's a low barrier to entry for host. And the property, just looking at it from the outsets of the photos, appears to be an older building, which could, in some cases, depending on the traveler demographic, be a turn off. But that certainly doesn't show from the pictures on the inside. So just take that to note. So one of the money slides here, what we do internally is called a value gap analysis, right? And all that means is that we assess each property based on the traveler demographics, the gaps or amenities, right, that we find, and then we see where the potential is to add unique value. So going from left to right. What this means is that Houston has one of the most diverse traveler demographics in the U.S. So, the long story short, right? You may hear a lot of things about finding your target avatar. Your target avatar should be everybody, right? Again, this is just Coach Cav's estimates, but someone telling you that you should focus on one or two types of people is equivalent, in my opinion, to Walmart saying they're only going to focus selling products towards one or two types of people, right? It just doesn't make good business sense. So all it means at the end of the day is if you're too targeted, then you potentially leave money on the table, right? And we're in the business to make money. So in order to make money, it has to make sense. So from a traveler demographic standpoint, you can see what I have in parentheses here that if targeted wide means a wide number of traveler demographics that we want to be positioned to take on. In the middle, VG stands for value gap. Value plus value gaps tie into market supply and demand. And what we've noted for your property, you've got self-check-in, you've got a dedicated office space, and you've got good guest reviews right now that assist. Things here that are missing are not highlighted, right? Head-to-bed ratio, and I'll explain this here in a second. So from a head-to-bed ratio standpoint, I don't care what size place you have, you need to understand where the market caps from a head-to-bed ratio standpoint based on what you offer. So, for example, if you had a one-bedroom and you slept 4 people, you need to understand across your market how many one-bedrooms sleep up to 4 people, and then how many one-bedrooms are sleeping maybe 6 people. Yes, and I know there's some rules around it depending on where you are, house versus apartment. But the point being is that this is about understanding the market and what's around you, right? So in this case, you've got a 3-bedroom that sleeps only 6 people, but it's listed as a family. It's sort of tied trending towards families with the movie setup. In the Houston market, there are an abundance of homes that sleep up to 6 people, and I would put you in the category sleeping up to 8. But you're missing family-friendly and kid-friendly amenities, right? And remember, those are filterable items inside of Airbnb. So yes, there may be a family that finds, your place attractive in nature. But if they're traveling with a small kid or a pet, then you're no longer in competition because you don't have pet friendly. You don't allow pets. You don't have pet friendly amenities. And you don't have kid friendly amenities, right? Such as a high chair, travel pack and play with a mattress or a crib, um, and little things that you plug into the wall outlet protectors, right? To check those blocks. So missing those things become critical in the travel demographics that you're able to target. So if I were to draw a line from travel demographics in the market, let's look at number one in the travel demographic pool, families with kids, and then let's look at number three, families with kids and pets. I should be able to draw a line from number three to the middle, number four and number five, that allowed us to be in competition, right, for that traveler demographic. But when they go in and they start selecting filters based on what their travel needs are, you may not show up or you won't show up, right? Um, so this becomes a game of numbers in some cases. So I hope that made sense in terms of what this chart's showing based on what you offer, what's offered in the market from a travel demographic standpoint versus what you currently offer and where you're potentially missing out here. Um, some of the other things to note here, being a super host, having professional photos, parking's a plus, location dependent. Those are all things that we assume everybody to have, right? So with all things being equal, there's got to be a unique separator at some point, and that's where we get over to the right side, right? And what we call unique value. Now, you would almost qualify with a theme home in the number one column under unique value. However, there are some things that are missing that would prevent me from labeling that exactly for you. Um, so when we talk about unique value, if you look here at the bottom, typically offered in less than 25% of the market. I would argue and say when you're competing with less than 1 to 5% of the market, you offer unique value, right? Um, Now, the reason we didn't select the pool is because it's sort of a commonality, right? With apartment complexes, I would select that if it were a home, but not necessarily an apartment complex. It doesn't add a unique value and separate you from everybody else because there could be 40 other operators in the building, and you all get the shared amenity of the pool, so it doesn't necessarily separate you in this case. But each of these are designed to help you look at right what's possible to add additional value to your place. Then you can see here number 9 and number 12. I think could be helpful for you as I'll cover here on the next slide. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Value gap analysis dives into some data and details to help us understand if there's actually value to be placed in the market, right? So here's some recommendations for you. Business friendly amenities, right? You've got the dedicated workspace. However, from an Airbnb standpoint, that's not typically enough, right? Because it's most people can segment out workspace and call it and check that block. How you get to unique value in this case is by offering having a dual monitor, right? Set up where a business friendly traveler can come in with a laptop, plug into a dual monitored desk that gives them some added benefit if that's the intent of their trip. Again, allow pets. You're missing out on at a minimum 2 travel demographics. If we go back to our chart here, family with pets, family with kids and pets, couple with with no kids or pets. Uh, but you're missing out on travel demographics, and all that means is that again, when you look at a calendar and you look at your bookings, you should be able to look at a booking on your calendar and determine what value your place holds as to the reason why they booked your place, right? So the message comes in at 11 o'clock and it says, hey, we're traveling with two pet Yorkies. Um, they'll be caged. They don't bark. Da 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 da. Would you mind making an exception, or what's your pet fees or what's your pet rules? So, so you would be able to trace that booking back to the value of allowing pets as to the reason why they booked. And the same thing goes for a business-friendly traveler or contractor or a family with small kids that need very specific that have very specific, unique traveler requirements. You can point those back to your value points, right? And that's where this sort of ties back in when we're able to look at a place that we put in the market. We can look at a booking, and then we can tie that back to our initial market research analysis and understand if we got it right or if we didn't. But that's why that's so helpful and important part of our market research and analysis. What I don't know is if you're listed across multiple platforms. I would recommend to at least be listed Airbnb, Vrbo. Booking.com is not that large of a marketplace, but again, it's a marketplace, so I'd never discourage anyone from listing there. And then use a tool like SyncBnB to help synchronize the calendars across those different platforms. But again, in this case, right, it's expanding your marketing capability with platforms that already exist to do the work for you. Pricing software to help your rate flow. Again, this will make sense once you see what we will do in the pricing tool. But big picture here is pricing software is once your rates are set, they help your adjustments based on market supply and demand. We do recommend Wheelhouse. If you want to take a look at it or decide to go with it, please reach back out to me and I'll send you a unique code to try them out. Increase the head-to-bed ratio. I think in this case, that's a mistake here. In this case, your head-to-bed ratio right now of 6, it does not separate you from the rest of the market. But if we went in and we put a head-to-bed ratio of 8 for a place with 3 bedrooms, you're competing with a lot less people. You're in a lot better position to take on those, and then we can do some unique things inside of the platforms. Like we can charge for the 7th and 8th guests. We can add an additional fee on for those guests, and as well as additional parking fees, because typically 8 people comes with more vehicles, right? So there's some unique things that you can do from a pricing standpoint to help out there. Peer space. Again, if you look at my picture here to the right, we did this in Summerville, South Carolina. We do this typically in the Houston market with a couple of our places that are on peer space. But in this perfect example here, we had a chef hosting a brunch that lasted for about 4 hours. And then we had Airbnb guests checking in the same day, and we made over $3,000 just in that weekend, right? So that's the ability of peer space to add value, and in some cases add unique value to your space, because the more reservations you take in through peer space, the less worried you are, or from a number standpoint, the less reliant we are upon our occupancy rates, right? And that's important to understand. And then in our case, we have sort of a 60-40 goal where 60% of the bookings are through Airbnb and 40% in a given month are through Peerspace. But that changes the context of how you look at your cash flow. It changes the context of how you look at uh, your occupancy, and it changes the context of how you price because you've got another stream of income coming in that's by the hour, which which means you can make as much money in 4 hours as you would with 8 people running around your house. So certainly something there to consider. We do have a Peerspace walkthrough in our course where it walks you through end to end how to build a Peerspace profile and tie it into Airbnb, as well as some key aspects of managing that you need to be aware of. I mentioned this before, but the kid-friendly amenities, family target demographic, but you like family-friendly amenities. As I mentioned, with your current setup, it is very family-friendly. I love the setup, the movie theater look. Again, it's family orientated, but you're missing the family-friendly amenities to really tie it in. And if a family again is coming and they're just looking for a place to relax and stay, they can very well fall in love with your place. But if they're traveling with two small kids, right, that may be a deal breaker because you don't have those kid friendly amenities that they need more than they want to watch a big screen TV or watch a movie on your big screen projector there. Uh, a lot of people miss this, but list your place as having accessibility options, right? Even if it's upstairs, it doesn't cost you anything to list it. But what we do know is handicap individuals are a unique traveler demographic, and when they come looking, when that filter box gets checked, then you want to ultimately be in competition for them, right? So yes, it does require an additional bit of work. You've got to have the right pictures that show the right access points and the write up, but it's an additional 10 minutes of your time to make sure you're competing for another traveler demographic, and especially if your place is on the first floor. Um, key thing here again, ask for a longer lease. And when you're doing rental arbitrage, you want a minimum of 36 months. So the first year you can focus on your principal return, the second year your growth, and then the third year can be profit focused. But the bigger point here is that with a 12-month lease agreement, you will almost never, unless you're in certain markets, have a chance to fully recoup your investment because a 12-month lease, you're only operating ideally 10 months before you're starting to pack things up again, right? So work on that, and please let me know what comes of that discussion. Um, you can likely focus on upsells. There's a site or platform called B&B Sell It, I believe the name of it. Um, you can utilize that plus early arrival and late departure fees. We do pretty well with that. We've got an automated message that goes out. It tracks the gaps in the calendar, and we will get those messages out. And we typically take in a couple $100 a month just on early arrival, late departures from guests. Uh, the last one highlighted here in red. Let's just have a discussion about this, right? You're giving away 13% in management fees plus the cleaning fees. You're losing revenue from a management standpoint, um, and giving away all of your cleaning fees. A good management company, right, as we do with our investors, if you charge 150 a 150 cleaning fee to your guest, uh, you should be um, paying a housekeeper, let's just say $100. So that means you keep an additional $50 worth of revenue, right? Uh, you should be making money on your cleaning fees. Your management fees at 13%, it's not bad, but I just asked the question, what are you getting for 13%? Because if you're not tied to any third party platforms from a pricing standpoint, a sync B&B, a cleaning platform, all these things cost money, right, to run, manage, and operate. If they're not if those are not inclusive within what you're paying, then your fees are too high, right? And again, this is subject to interpretation and how people run business, but I'm just giving you my perspective on things based on what we do and what we see across different markets. But I'd encourage you to go back and have a conversation about the cleaning fees and make sure that you're actually able to pull revenue from your cleaning fees and not just give it away, because that's ultimately taken away from your bottom line, right? Our investors see somewhere between 25 to, in some cases, $75 per booking from cleaning fee overages. And again, all that means is that we charge guests a significant amount more than we pay our housekeeping teams, which means that's additional revenue for you. Hope that made sense. Uh, so we'll get on here to the pricing tool here in a second. But this is, one of my favorite quotes, again, for all investors. And, it's just to say that we don't want investors shooting for an Airbnb just to have one, right? And I think that may have been sort of the situation that you got yourself into. But the moment, right, that you publish an Airbnb or you get into it, it's not the time to get excited, right? The time to get excited about the place that you're gonna offer is when you've done the right market research and analysis, and you know without a doubt that the place that you are putting in the market will offer value to the market, right? And all that means is that you should be able to take your short-term rental and say, hey, here is what this place will offer in this market. If you can't answer that question, or someone can't answer that question for you, then you're not getting yourself into a good investment. Okay, and yes, I know this is kind of long, but bear with me here, and hopefully that's provided some value to you. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through our pricing tool. Right, this is a pricing tool that we built because we felt it was necessary to understand the difference between what a third party tool provides in terms of its ability to aggregate data and then price units based on market supply and demand, and actually versus actually understanding your numbers, and then where your price should be listed, then transition that over to a pricing tool, right? So I'm going to take you through this, just a rough overview here. This is where we typically just fill out ancillary data. Here in the profit margin block, this is where everything will start to populate, right? But this is where we play with numbers here, and that's why I asked what's your targeted occupancy rate and how much do you want to make from an ROI standpoint per month. The block here just shows income. That starts to build out as we input expenses across each month. So this will be pretty straightforward, and then we'll traverse back to the top to tie it all in. So the numbers you provide, 1,800 there, we calculate in host fees because you don't get that out of your gross revenue, you lose it. So we've got to account for it in some capacity. So this is just a rough estimate here. Cleaning fees are actually a pass-through. You'll see down here, it says less cleaning fees, meaning we count it, but it's not accounted for. The water and trash, I don't know if your electricity and everything's tied in. You provided $80, which is pretty low for electrics, for utilities, but we'll go with what you provided. Insurance at 110, and then give some additional thought, right? This is after the fact, but give some additional thought to all these other different areas, right? And what what I want you to consider is what additional costs do you ideally have out there? And we do know that you have. We can go to general expenses. You do have management fees that you're paying, and right now because the revenue's low, your management fees aren't helping. And let's just say uh, I'm just going to go modest here and say we've got $3,000 times 13%, 390. So let's put in here that you've got $390 on average in management fees, right? So now, and so what we're calculating here is that your total operating expenses in this case um, would be about $2,800. Um, and if we put in here 70% occupancy, then this miscellaneous income would be if we were taking in cleaning fee overages, or we were estimating to get upsells from B&B Sell It, parking, early arrivals, late departures. We would count this into our numbers as miscellaneous income, but you don't have that right now, so we're not going to put any additional in there. So right now, just based on an ADR of $100, which is where I think I saw your property listed, you'd have about $2,100 in gross income, which means you'd be at a negative 780, right? Just to start. So let's change this number to 169. And let's just say that we were getting some cleaning fee overages and we were averaging about $200 in that department at 70% occupancy, which was your targeted number. You would stand to make about $669 a month, right? So this is part one. Now, the truth here, based on your expenses, right? Our pricing tool gives us um, your average daily operating expense. Now, the first column here to the left is your break even, right? If all things go to hell, and you've got to rent this place for 30 days, the lowest number you can go would be $96, right? $96 a month would be the lowest, absolute lowest you can rent this place for in order to break even. Based on your numbers, in order to hit $1,000 per month with a 70% occupancy rate, which was the number you provided, our profit margins in this case, I'm going to play with some numbers here, would need to be right at about 150%, right? And all that means from a nightly rate standpoint here, come down to the third line here, uh, at 150% profit margin, a 70% occupancy rate. Our recommended daily rate in this case, in order to meet that threshold, would be $217. Now, what we do understand is in the market right now, based on what your place offers, it's going to be hard for you to price at $217 a night to achieve your targeted ROI. So what does that mean for you, right? It means you may have to take what the market's giving you at the value you currently hold. Because one of the other things I always want investors to understand is that uh, we can't outprice our value in the market, right? No matter how much what somebody tells us or what they show us, you'll never be able to outprice your market value. And that's just to say that you'll never go in Walmart and pay $7 for a Twix, right? Because the value for that candy bar just isn't there. Um, the only way you'll pay $7 for it is if it's the only candy bar left in the store, and that's what you need, right? So the supply and demand works out in the same way, but the the demand for the supply that's remaining then works out in your favor. But in this case, right, just looking at your profile and understanding where you are from a number standpoint, you will likely never see this number, right? So we have to be more realistic based on what you currently offer in the market, and excuse me, and let's change this to 70% again. And again, this is the beauty of this tool because we can play with this and see where we can actually be from a pricing standpoint based on where you currently price. 179. So let's reduce this to 100. It gets us to about 167, 102, 169. So let's just go back to where we priced here at 169. If you were priced at 169 and you were hitting your targets, you would make roughly about 600 bucks a month, 682 bucks a month. Let's just give it a worst case scenario and say that we are at 60% occupancy. Our profit margins are at 70%. Our ADR doesn't change, and you're priced at 127 because that's all you can get in the market. If you were able to achieve this consistently, you'd walk away with 468 bucks a month. And if we did the math just based on what you spent, 468, and let's just say times 11, you would only have a net return of $5,000 of the 15 grand that you spent, right? So look, it's not a pretty picture to paint, but it gives you some realism in terms of what's actually needed in order to understand this, and what's actually needed to one, go in this business, and then two, to be successful, right? So the point I want to drive home to further this is, never make a decision, especially in this market, without the right data. There are a lot of services that are offered, but if folks are not putting detailed data in front of you, it may not have to be this detailed, but it needs to make sense for you to understand what the market offers, and then how will the place that they're offering you fit into that market to where they see this being a successful investment in some capacity for you, right? So hopefully this made sense. This will be packaged up for you. You'll get the PowerPoint in a PDF, and the video will be there for you. Hopefully it serves of some value to you, and I'll look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you for trusting me with this effort to oversee and give you some feedback on your property, and I'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Coach Gava.